Calling the roll for the Monday, December 16, 2024 Board of Control meeting. It is 11:03 a.m. We have Levine Ross serving as an alternate for Meredith Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Dale Miller. Here. Trevor Meckler serving as an alternate for Pernell Jones Jr.
Here.
Melanie Say serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Catherine Gallagher serving as an alternate for Chris Renee, County Executive.
Here.
Michael Chambers, Fiscal Officer, serving as Chairman.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the review and the approval of the minutes from December 9th. I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Melanie Say. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Let's go to our first item.
First item, new item for review, BC 2024-943. Department of Public Works submitting a revenue generating agreement with City of Seven Hills in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for maintenance and repair of storm and sanitary sewers and pumping stations located in County Sewer District Number 2 for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Good morning, Eric Mack, Public Works. This is our annual the renewal for Seven Hills. There was a question last week that came through in regards to the cost. It did go down by $100,000 from last year.
Thank you, Eric. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item?
Next item, BC 2024-944. Department of Public Works submitting a revenue generating agreement with City of Lakewood in the amount not to exceed $300,000 for storm and sanitary sewer system services for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Morning, Eric Mack, Public Works again. This is our annual renewal for Lakewood. This cost did not change from last year.
Thank you again, Eric. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-945, Department of Housing and Community Development submitting an amendment to an agreement with City of Lakewood for home-funded activities for the period May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2025, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $197,549.
Good morning. Yes, this is Prentice Jackson here in Department of Housing and Community Development. We're seeking an amendment to the home consortium agreement with City of Lakewood to add additional $197,549 to their current contract.
Okay, thank you, Prentice. Are there questions from the board? Councilman?
Yes, where did this additional money come from?
This additional money is from the 2017 funds, which we have to use first in, first out. Before we utilize these funds, we have to get it approved by you guys, and we have to utilize 2017 funds before they are expended.
I see, so we have additional money available that we want to put out there.
Yes, this is in addition to the funds we've already put out 523, 506 from the years 2018 and 2019, and we are adding 2017 funds before they are actually returned to HUD.
Okay, well, we don't want to send funds back.
No, we don't.
Okay, move approval.
Move for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Living Ross. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-946, Fiscal Department recommending an award and submitting an agreement with State of Ohio Office of the Auditor, Local Government Services in the amount not to exceed $110,500 to prepare the comprehensive annual financial report for calendar year 2024 for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Good morning, Dominique Tatum, Fiscal Department. So this is our agreement with the State of Ohio Local Government Services Division. So they help us with the preparation of our annual reports.
Thank you, Dominique. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Item approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-947, Department of Equity and Inclusion recommending an award on RQ 14575 and enter into a contract with Ask Reply Incorporated, DBA B2G Now, in the amount not to exceed $441,258 for the purchase, installation, and support of supplier diversity management and compliance software solution for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2029.
Good morning, Lenore Lockett, Department of Equity and Inclusion. If approved, this will be a joint purchase between the Department of Equity and Inclusion, Public Works, Development, and Housing and Community Development. Our RFQ was issued on June 10th. It closed on July 10th. There were 5 statements of qualifications submitted. Those statements of qualifications were reviewed in accordance with the RFQ, and we're recommending an award to the top scoring vendor.
Thank you, Lenore. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-948, Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Department of Housing and Community Development, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $8,132 for a state contract purchase of 4 HP ZBook Firefly mobile workstations, each to include 5-year HP Care Pack Essential Offsite Support Warranty, HP Absolute Data and Device Security for educational professional subscription licenses and docking stations, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. As Cheryl just read into the record, M&J is providing state term pricing. These are IT standard models. The requesting department has indicated that they are aged of 7 years and plus, and also there's some connectivity issues with the units.
Thank you, Dennis. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Item approved. Next item.
Next, item BC 2024-949, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to AT&T Corporation in the amount not to exceed $5,751.12 for a state contract purchase of ISDN Prime Network and Telecommunication Services for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Again, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This contract with AT&T is for PRI services. This is the interconnect service between the legacy Centrix and the new VoIP services that we're going to, and everyone will be on eventually. This is the last PRI we have in the county. We used to have many of them. We're down to one. Last year's figure was some $8,200, so it's about $2,500 less this year. And the feature everyone's most familiar with that this enables is 4-digit dialing between the systems.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item?
Next item, BC 2024-950, Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Board of Elections, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $36,040.19 for state contract purchase of 3 Axis panoramic cameras, each to include licensing and support services for a period of 1 year, and 12 card readers, miscellaneous equipment, installation, programming, and setup at 1801 Superior Avenue, Cleveland, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, David DeGrandis from the Department of IT. The bulk of the security equipment for 1801 Superior has been approved by council at a meeting last month. These were additions that we realized were required as a result of the non-county tenant being in the building and making sure we are secure, our BOE space is secure. This is not the last you'll see for security equipment for this site. Health and Human Service, we're still working with Health and Human Services to proceed and identify their security needs for this site. And there's another question from council prior to the meeting that right now, it looks like we're still on track for completion by February 10th is our date.
Okay, David, thank you. Are there questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I will make the
Yes.
motion. Oh, sorry, Councilman.
I have a question.
Please.
In the prepared response, it said that there was a meeting on 12/13 where we would have a better idea of the progress. Is there anything you learned from that meeting?
Correct, we're still on target for our February 10th date to have all the work completed.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item?
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2024-951, Department of Information Technology submitting an amendment to a contract with AT&T Corporation for Centrex telephone and messaging services for the period June 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2025, to change the terms effective upon signatures of all parties, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $400,000.
Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This is our basic telephone services, the Centrix platform. It's the same dollar amount as it was last year in 2024. And this is primarily needed in the Justice Center and the old courthouse until definitive decisions are made in regards to the building, what's going to happen with there. Then this system does need to be supported. We were notified, Ellen Kilgore was notified a while ago, AT&T is phasing out the Centrix service, so there will be some decisions to be made in the future about emergency lines and things of that nature, that whether they can or cannot go totally VoIP system, so, but that's down the road.
Thank you, Dennis. Other questions? Councilman?
Yes, what date did AT&T give as to when they're no longer going to support the Centrex service?
They did not give a date. They just said that it's not going to be supported forever.
Okay, well, hopefully it's a while yet.
Yeah, and it's a not to exceed contract, so if we ever were in a position to make a move, we'd be fine, same as last year.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any final questions? Please.
If AT&T does not continue, is there a backup plan or
Yes,
that you would?
if 18 goes up. Jared, I don't want to get into your area, but I don't believe that would ever happen. We got a long established relationship with AT&T, and it gets down to some legal matters about health and safety and public welfare and everything else, so let's not think about that at all until it perhaps presents itself.
Don't send that out.
Famous last words, Dennis. Okay. All right, seeing no further questions, I will make the motion to approve this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. The item is approved.
you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-952, Cuyahoga County Law Library submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in a payment to Thomson Reuters West Publishing Corporation in the amount not to exceed $39,252.84 for the purchase of various books and literature used within the collection of the Cuyahoga County Law Library for the period August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning. You don't see me often. My name's Kathy Dugan. I'm the director of the County Law Library. We are here today under an RFP exemption to purchase quite a few books that come out irregularly throughout the year for the Law Library, and these are necessary to support legal research needs of our patrons and staff.
Thank you, Kathy. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Melanie Say. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Next item. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2024-953, Medical Examiner's Office submitting an amendment to a contract with Alexa Ray Oilers for pathology assistant services for the period June 17, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2025, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $25,000.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. So we had this person on contract. She was providing autopsy support services due to the increase of forensic pathologists when we hired the 3 additional over the past summer. We're in the process of the hiring. We just needed a little bit more time for processing due to the holidays to get her on as a full-time employee now that we had the FTE open. So.
Okay, Hugh, thank you. Are there questions from the board on this item?
Yes.
Please.
So this item here, this is a contract and not a hiring, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was put on contract mid-year when we brought the new pathologists on. We didn't have enough staff to support all the doctors that we now have on staff finally, so.
Could we find a person we could hire to do these services rather than having to do a contract, which is always more expensive?
So we're actually hiring her. We were waiting for HR to process the final paperwork, so it just is going over, because of the holidays, there are delays, and it would likely push her past the January 1 date.
So we probably won't need all of this 25,000, is it?
Unlikely that we'll need a majority of it, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay.
Okay, any additional questions? Seeing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank
Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-954, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services recommending an award on RQ 14891 and enter into a purchase order with Infinite Protection Limited in the amount not to exceed $48,000 for the purchase of 1 mobile security camera trailer for Cleveland Metropolitan Park District Police Department.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. This purchase was competitively bid, and we are making a recommendation to award to the lowest cost compliant vendor. It is grant funded, and both the project owner and Ohio EMA have approved the award.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item?
Next, item BC 2024-955, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services recommending an award on RQ 15095 and enter into a purchase order with Aiden Combat Systems in the amount not to exceed $25,137 for the purchase of 9 ballistic shields for the West Shore Enforcement Bureau SWAT team.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn again. This is another grant-funded purchase, and the recommendation is to the lowest cost vendor. Both Webb and Ohio EMA have approved the award.
Thank you again, Mary Beth. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank
Next
you.
item. Thank you.
Next, item BC 2024-956, Department of Health and Human Services and Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, Office of Emergency Management, submitting a grant agreement with Greater Cleveland Food Bank Incorporated via contract number 5038 in the amount not to exceed $45,000 to provide funding for a tabletop exercise and to establish a crisis recovery food response fund effective upon contract signatures of all parties through November 1st, 2025.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services. As we know, the tornadoes over the summer raised some issues countywide around food security that we hadn't planned for. To address this, we are planning on working with the Department of Public Safety, Office of Emergency Management, and the Cleveland Food Bank to explore how to address these issues and to have at the ready, in case of a crisis, shelf-stable food to hand out as well as a reserve to tap into.
Thank you, Marcos. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item?
Next, item BC 2024-957, Department of Health and Human Services, COG Job and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in a payment to Cleveland Center for Arts and Technology, DBA Newbridge, Cleveland, in the amount not to exceed $15,474.98 as final payment for the period September 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2023, for services rendered under the SNAP Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to Skills Employment and Training Services Contract for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2023, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Marcos Cortez again with Health and Human Services on behalf of Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services. In 2023, we made a payment on a final invoice to Newbridge. At the time, the vendor returned the payment to us because they said we didn't owe it to them. We did receive the check back and we canceled the previous purchase order. However, the vendor conducted an internal audit and realized that we did actually owe them those funds. So this is a purchase order to pay that original and final invoice.
Thank you, Marcos. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item?
Next, item BC 2024-958, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to the Centers for Families and Children in the amount not to exceed $451,200 for payment of October 2024 invoices for services rendered following the expiration of the master contract short-term emergency child care services for children in custody of DCFS and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, everyone. Dan Basta, Division of Children and Family Services. This is our October payment for a short-term emergency bed contract, which diverts children from the building while awaiting placement. We have children that are placed there currently, so we needed to continue on with this service even past the expiration date of the contract. There haven't been any payments made since the expiration of the contract. Be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Dan. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Thank you. Next item.
Next, item BC 2024-959, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Reentry, submitting an amendment to a contract with Oriana House Incorporated for administration and operation of the Neighborhood Reentry Resource Center and the Adult Transition Model for the period July 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2026, to expand the scope of services in accordance with Exhibit 5A for 100-day housing plan services, and to add Exhibit 6A representing the budget for this amendment to include terms for an advance payment and monthly reporting effective upon signatures of all parties, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $200,000.
Marcos Cortez again, for the Office of Reentry. Again, this is a contract amendment to extend the time and add the funds specifically only for the rapid rehousing component. The main barrier to formerly incarcerated and justice-impacted individuals that currently face is safe and suitable housing. To address this issue, Oriana House, in collaboration with the Office of Reentry, will provide funds to assist those formerly incarcerated individuals secure housing, pay down delinquent utility bills such as water, sewer, gas, and electric, and in providing these services will help reduce the use of shelter beds and shelter overcrowding and health risk associated with homeless individuals.
Thank you, Marcos. Are there questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve it. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Next, item BC 2024-960, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Reentry, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Emerald Development and Economic Network Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $10,000 for landlord risk mitigation program services effective upon signatures of all parties through June 30th, 2025, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning again, Marcos Cortez. As we mentioned previously, safe and suitable housing is an issue for reentry and justice-involved population. Retaining landlords that are willing to rent to this population is a key issue. Landlords do not want to rent to this population because there is a higher financial risk. So the Office of Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections have established the Risk Mitigation Funds Program to establish a claims fund that partner landlords can access to mitigate damages to units without having to submit insurance claims and keep their willingness to rent to individuals with mental health illnesses who continues to cycle in and out of the jail and who have difficulty securing housing because of their illness. This, though, is particularly only for Eden to operate and utilize a subcontracting consultant for the on-site inspections and paperwork associated with those claims. So that these are funds just so they can verify that the work has been done and to submit the paperwork around that.
Okay, Marcos, thank you. Are there questions from the board on this item? Mr. Mackler.
Morning, Marcos. So what's the funding source for the actual fund itself that would pay the landlord if there was damage?
That is coming from the state, so we are not operating that component of it.
Do you know the balance of, or what the state provided for that?
I do not at the moment, but I can try to find that out.
If you got it, thank you.
Are there any additional questions on this item? Seeing no further questions, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Moving on.
Moving on to consent agenda items BC 2024-961 through BC 2024-964.
Just a couple of items, board members. Feel free to ask any questions. Okay, seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve today's consent agenda items as listed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Today's consent agenda items are approved. Moving on to other business.
No other business?
Any public comment?
No public comment?
I will then make the motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Melanie Say. All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.